Hey everybody, I'm Lauren. I'm half of Hops Geek News. The other half is currently flying home from LA. He's been gallivanting around Southern California, going to Disneyland, Universal, WB, lot tour. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about when he gets back. But today I have with me Oscar Osorio, and he is here to promote his story, A Never-Ending Adventure. So I'm gonna go ahead, Oscar, and let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about this story that you want to promote.
Yeah, well, I'm Oscar Osorio. I'm a comic book writer from Peru, and I've been a fan of comics for 10 plus years. Recently, I started writing articles, opinions, reviews, and all about that. And starting this year, I made this transition to full time comic book writer. I was working a corporate job, and then I'm full on dedicated to comics. And this comic book, A Never Ending Adventure, comes from this inspiration that I got from my own career change.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was working before, I got burned out. I was anxious, and when I did the change, I was like, when you are going to do something that you're passionate about, it's like people tell you that you're going to be happy and you're going to be like you're not working and everything is going to be okay. But when you do that, you discover that there's a new set of issues that arise because now you're anxious about making money out of your passion because it's not like a hobby anymore. And you also have this fear of disappointing yourself, disappointing your family, and yeah, there's a lot of topics there to talk about, and this is where the inspiration comes from, which is the protagonist is on a similar journey as I am, and now he needs to get this idea to start living of comics, to start living of his passion, and it's a book that will talk about mental health, a career change, life-changing decisions, but it's also going to be fun with action and adventure and the silliness of superhero comics because that's what I loved in the first place about comics. So I try to mix all of that into this is like the story, the quest of an aspiring writer looking for an idea.
So it's very meta. I'm guessing it's very
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
part of the story. So I love that, and that's really popular nowadays. You know, we all love Deadpool, and we all love those meta type stories. So you keep saying you love comic books, but can you tell us a little bit about your specific origin story? Like which character or story or movie got you into this love of comics?
Uh, what I remember is that I got my first comic was Spider-Man, so I remember loving that. I'm here in Peru, so we didn't get comics until 2010, where a local
Oh wow.
newspaper started publishing them as single issues. Before you could get some, but it was hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
So what I first loved was all Marvel because that's what they started publishing. Um, so it was 2010 Marvel superheroes and all of that, and I love that. That's why I put that into my own comic. And then when I started discovering more about comics, I had the opportunity to travel to conventions in the US, and that's where I discovered indie comic books and more creators, and it was like a whole new world for me. But
Yeah,
yeah, my first love in comics is Marvel comics, superhero stuff, the events, the crossovers, all of that.
that's awesome. So you mentioned conventions. Can you tell us some of your favorite conventions you've been to?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be at San Diego
Oh,
and New
oh
York.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh wow. You've done two of the huge ones.
yeah. It's like I traveled with my family, and when I started getting into comics, we had this idea of going to Comic Con, and then it became kind of a tradition. So I've been to Comic Con at San Diego, New York. I think
That's
yeah, both of them are cool. At first, I attended the conventions as a fan, so I loved the panels and all the stuff. And later, I started going to the more educational panels on how to make comics. I started going to Artist Alley and meeting creators there. So I think that it's been fun because I had this opportunity of experience everything as a fan, but
mhm.
also talking to creators. I live in Peru, so it's not easy for me to go and talk to a creator about my stuff or ask them questions and all of that. And I had that opportunity, and That's also helped me learn a lot of how to make comic books and inform the whole process of creating a book.
Yeah, that's amazing. And those are two conventions that are on my bucket list. So we've done quite a few as Hops Geek News. We've done MegaCon, FanX, all sorts of ones. But yeah, those two are big. San Diego's definitely on our to-do list. So can you tell me maybe like your most memorable moment you had at one of those cons?
Yeah, I think that well, there's a couple. At my first convention, I got to meet Stan Lee, and at the time,
You just started at the top, man.
yeah, no, but it's fun because I had that opportunity, but it was on my first convention. I was just getting into comics. I knew who Stan Lee was because it's like a huge name.
Hmm.
That's even beyond comic books. Uh, but for me, it was like I was in my first convention. I was starting at this world, and I got to meet him. And later, as a creator, as a bigger fan, um, I was like thinking about it, and it's like a huge deal, like a huge milestone for anyone that wanted to write comics. But at the time, I don't think that I gave it the importance that it had in
Hmm.
my life. So it's like I would love to meet him later, but I didn't have the chance. This was in 2011.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it was something really important as a writer, as someone that was eventually going to become a writer.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was the first, and the second was a New York Comic Con 2019. I think that when the Spawn 300 launched, and that's the first and the only time that I seen like the show floor collapse because of the people that were in line at the
Oh,
Image booth to get that book. They
wow.
were doing like we only have 200 of the gold covers, and you need to be like 50 covers per day. You need to be here early, and on Thursday there was a lot of people, and on Friday it collapsed. There was like the show floor was so full that they say no, we're not selling this anymore, it's closed. And Saturday they didn't sell those, and Sunday they did, but at other location because it was so full. And I've never
Wow.
seen like people go so crazy for something at the show floor. And yeah, that moment stayed with me because it was like so wild. Like the show
Sure.
floor, the entire show floor was full of people, and you know how we get when we were trying to get our collectibles, people start
Hmm.
pushing, and yeah, they started losing their well manners.
Yeah, which is kind of sad because at MegaCon, it's such a safe and welcoming place at all these cons. Like, usually those are the best people, but I guess you can't get between somebody and their Funko Pop. Um, so, you mentioned transitioning at the cons from being a spectator to being an artist. So, what's some of the advice you got from some of those? Because I know other independent comic book writers and even Marvel and Star Wars and DC, they're all very happy to give advice to any up and coming comic book creator. So, what are some pieces of advice you've gotten at some of those cons from some creators?
um, well, it's like the general advice is write what you would like to find on the shelves. That's something that's really
Okay.
important for me. It's like don't write something trying to like figure out your audience or stuff. It's like write something that you would like to find on the shelves. That's like
Hmm.
for me it's the most important. And there's other stuff like just keep writing and hearing these creators telling you that they are doing this like 5 or 6 years and they just got their big break, but they have been like grinding for many years and failing and working. Creators that have gone from doing one book a year or one book every 2 years to having 4 books in a year. And just listening to that is it's inspiring because you usually think that it's going to be fast, that you're going to start writing and you're going to get your big break like some of them have. But in reality is you're going to start writing and putting out work, and maybe not many people are going to see it, and then you're going to go into something. So I think that's like the most important. Beyond the technical stuff is like hearing from other creators that have gone for because last time this year I was at C2E2. I was talking to creators telling them that I went from a corporate job to full time comics, and many of them told me that they followed the same path. They were doing like finance, they were doing accountants or something like that, and now they are into comics. And it was great to hear that because it's like they have your same story, they have your
Mm,
same background, and they are, and you're following their steps. So
right.
just hearing from them, from their experiences making comics, is inspiring because you know that you can do the same or you can do something similar.
It's funny how we grow up and we learn like I don't need that corporate job. I need to be happy. So it's like you grow up and you get into
Yeah,
comics. So I love that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I want to go more into your story that you're currently working on. And so this is like a Kickstarter campaign, but it's on Zoop, Zoop.
yeah,
And so you've talked about mental health in this story, and that's obviously very important. And I think that's something we're just now starting to see, like in Marvel. You know,
yeah.
Bucky and Falcon are sitting at the therapist's office, and you know, we did a whole episode on mental health probably about a year ago now. We had a therapist come on and we dissected some of these characters, and that's so important and kind of glossed over and finally coming to light. So, what inspired you to add a mental health element to your story?
I think that the mental health aspect was really important for me because it's something that I've been struggling with when taking this big step, like the whole going from the corporate job where I was where I started feeling tired, when I started feeling anxious about my everyday job, and I was feeling this pressure. And ultimately, what made me choose to go into comics, I knew that I would become a writer eventually. It's like I was so passionate about it that I knew that I was going to start writing comics at some point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But at my last job, it was like I was so full. I was completely full with job and assignments and everything that I stopped writing. I stopped reading comics, and when I realized that it was putting so much pressure to me that I wasn't doing the thing that I love the most, that is reading comics, writing about comics. That's the moment that I said, no, this is not working for me. This is not good for me because I know what my passion is, and if I'm not doing my passion, if I'm not doing what I love, then it's there's something wrong in there.
Mm-hmm.
So then I go into comics and I started feeling all the other stuff like, what if I made the wrong move? Should I get back? Should I continue? Um, I'm not making any money. I need to make money, and there's like a new pressure because I made money before. I had a stable income, so
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of mental health issues there, and a lot of stuff. And I also discuss anxiety in the book, mental dispersion. There's this stuff that is troubling the protagonist, and he needs to figure out so he can start writing a comic book and start making a living out of it. So I wanted to discuss it. I wanted to be open about it. I wanted to show the pros and the cons because it's not like I seen that people when they start writing about mental health, they go to the dark side of it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really sad, and you lose all hope. But in this book, I try to be as honest as possible, talking about stuff that I've experienced and what happens when you make this move to writing comics. But it's not only about going to write comics; it's about making any decision that you think, oh, when I do this, I'm going to be happy. When I buy a house, I'm going to. When I do this, and those big decisions are in everybody's lives. And I wanted to create something that shows you which are the good parts of doing it because at the end of the day I'm doing what I love. I'm making comic books and writing about them, and that's cool. But then the other part, when you get you need to take care of your mental health because it can put a lot of pressure into you, and it can make you, it can even interfere with your work. So I wanted to discuss it, and I wanted to put it out there. I think that there's the other stuff that is the Latino approach to mental health. Especially Latino men are known for keeping them all to themselves, trying to be like not vulnerable, trying to be like strong, and not talking about that stuff. So I wanted to also include that as part of the Latino identity of the protagonist.
That's amazing. So it's really you're trying to be relatable, I feel like. And a lot of
Yeah,
people want to act like, okay, I can't relate to that, but everybody can relate to that on some in some way, shape, or form.
yeah.
So One of the questions we always love asking our Kickstarter comics, and honestly, any comic book writer, how was the process working with the art? So, like when you created your story and then you had somebody else paint your picture, how did that go back and forth? Was it like, yes, that's what I was imagining, or was there a lot of back and forth?
Yeah, so for this book, we are working with four international artists. So my idea was to portray the protagonist's mental dispersions, his what he calls his undiagnosed ADHD, because he gets all these thoughts and goes like from his own story, from the main story, and he travels to different worlds as he's getting distracted and starts thinking about something else. So to portray that in a comic book, I made a different art style for each different thought that he has, and I did a script. I had this like the main story and then the side stories, and I went looking for artists for each one of the stories. Unfortunately, we have like a medieval story, and we got an artist that it's that and she's like she does this medieval art style, and it's a perfect fit. And we had that also for the dark fantasy story, and there's some more like slice of life story that's more grounded, and it's the protagonist talking to his past self. So it's these stories. I made the script. I sent them to the artists, and they because they are experts in this type of art style, it was like a perfect fit. And I think that there was some back and forth, but at the end of the day, the just when I located this story with each artist, it was perfect because they were comfortable with doing that because it was in their own styles, and what came out was awesome. I think that it's been a collaborative effort
Mm-hmm.
because we were t- doing back and forth talking, but the adjustments were kind of minimal, and it was like they knew what they were doing. They knew the essence of the story, and yeah, I think it worked really well. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I also tend to create the scripts that are really detailed, so I think that helps to at least now that I'm doing like this type story that it's really personal and like my first comic book, I want to be as detailed as possible, as try to create something. But if they change, I am also open to change. I think that what's cool is to see the what they do in the page. But I think that it was really well. I think that it went really well. I'm excited for people to see like the whole book because the effort, the collaboration was perfect. I think that we understood each other, and the book will reflect that. Will reflect that the story has a flow, even with the side stories. Like he goes to different worlds, but you can see that it has the same flow for
Mm-hmm.
the main story. So it's a really great book when you see the art and what they have done with the pages.
And can you tell everybody if anybody wants to check out this story, how can they go about finding it?
Yeah, well, this story, as you mentioned, is at Soup. You can go to Soup, COOP, and look for a never-ending adventure. You will see we have the digital reward, the physical. We have a couple of other stuff in there that I wanted to include. And yeah, this campaign is based in the US. I'm doing this with the help of my editor, so everything will be like this campaign is in the US because people may think that because I'm in Peru, I'm going to be delivering from Peru and the cost is going to be so high. But
Mm.
everything is based in the US, and this is basically a campaign from the US. You can check it out at Soup.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, we will have the link in the bio, so you can just go down and click on that. Is there anything else before we leave you? We don't want to take too much of your time that you would like to say about the story or just about your personal journey making this comic.
Yeah, no, I just want to yeah, I mentioned that this book is a mix of fun, action, and adventures, and also talking about mental health and big life changing decisions. So I think that everyone will get like a layer that they will enjoy. If they want to stay on a more on a deeper level, they will get all of the human struggle and all that, like the stuff that is like important for discussion, but sometimes it can be a little dense, and but this is also a quest of a character that is looking for something. So it has fighting and it has monsters and everything that is funny. And I try to blend that and create a cohesive story about this person that is going through this journey. But it's not as it's not as simple as someone struggling in real life because it's the nature of what is going on. He's going to fight monsters and fight other people, and it's going to get fun. It's going to get wild, but we will also examine all of that stuff that he has in his head and how he will solve it. And the big question is if he will be able to write the comic book by the last page.
So you have to find out, check out the comic.
Yeah.
Yes, we love supporting independent creators. Obviously, we're big on independent beer. And actually, this morning, we usually start every episode with what we are drinking. I dropped the ball because Matt's not here. He's usually really good about that. It is 11 a.m. here in Orlando, Florida. So I'm drinking coffee. However, it is independent coffee. It is coffee and capes. So you order their coffee, they send you comic books and coffee. I feel like a Wayne's World endorsement right now. I promise they're not sponsored by us. I did pay for this. But thank you so much, Oscar, for joining us. Any other future projects you have, reach out. We would, love to have you back on.
Awesome.
Maybe we can get you on
Awesome.
for a full episode next time, and we can geek out on some Spider-Man or maybe some other Marvel character. So
Yeah, yeah, that would be awesome.
yes,
Thank you for having me.
thank you again and again. You want to go to Zoop ZOOP, and you can look for a never-ending adventure to find the comic book. So I'm going to figure out how to get off of Instagram Live, but we will be doing more of these Instagram Lives if anybody enjoyed this, and we will post them up on the YouTube afterwards as well, so we can interview some more creators and let you all know where to check out some independent comics. So cheers.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Have a good one, Oscar.